Welcome to another episode of the Cyber Culture Cafe podcast, where John and Andy will introduce you to another fascinating member of the eSentire extended family. Welcome, Tim Peterson, to the podcast. Please give us a brief introduction of where you are within the company now and your current roles and responsibilities, and we'll start from there.
Sounds good. Thanks, Andy and John, for having me. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the partnership that we've developed with eSentire. So I am VP of Sales here at Data-Tel, and what that entails is really me doing a lot of selling as well, right? We're a small business, but as a result of that, we really focus on taking care of our clients, and so bringing in new clients is really a direct reflection of the work that the rest of our team does here at Data-Tel. So it's a team effort here. You'll notice in conversations with Data-Tel that nobody says what their title is. And our business cards don't have titles on them. We actually have a few made up that have VP and for my colleague president, but we don't use it, and we prefer to refer to each other as colleagues.
Love that. I love Tim. First of all, thank you for doing this. We do appreciate. You're actually the first partner. Thank you, Tim. I love it for joining with us. We appreciate it. This is awesome. I love what you said, and it reminds me of, and I know this has nothing to do with security, but if you look at baseball teams, so I'm a big Yankees fan. If you look at the Yankees,
you had to be happy last night.
I know. I was rock and roll tonight. I got to tell you, tonight's on the line, but. They don't have their last names on their jerseys.
That's right. Yeah.
Look, there's a number there, but it's not about the last name. It's a team. The whole team has to succeed. And what you just said reminded me of that, and I just wanted to bring that up. I love that. I love that you don't have titles on your business card. It means nothing, right? It really means, what is important is the relationship that you're building. And somebody's not going to remember, I talked to the vice president, or I talked to the president. Yeah. I talked to Tim. Tim said, man, he's behind me. We got all that. I mean, that's important. Having that relationship. Who cares what the title is? And if they go like, I don't know what Tim does. I don't know what his title is, but this guy's going to take care of me. Yeah. I love what they do, and they're going to help me. I think that is important. That's what partners, all partners should be doing, no matter what your business is. I think that's important. But yeah, it's exciting to have you here. I am super excited. First partner, I love it.
And Andy had said, you're at Data-Tel. What's your role there? And my role has been for the last 5 years to really help transform the organization to get away from where we were traditionally, which a lot of partners in the community are, which is connectivity and telephony.
Right. Yep.
So for us to be, having conversations with our clients about a company like eSentire is a big transformation.
Right.
At surface level, you think, well, why is that such an issue? Like, well, for so many years, since 1999, when Mike started the company, we started at a position where all we had to sell was voice and telephony.
Yeah.
And then data and telephony, right? So, getting out of that mindset of our clients can be a challenge. And oftentimes partners like Data-Tel are not positioned, appropriately. And so it takes work to get to that positioning where we are having the security conversations, we're having the AI conversations, we're having the data center conversations. But the main reason that I came here was, in a sense, that team concept that you just talked about, John, right? Prior to coming to Data-Tel in January of 2020, I held different director positions with a few different companies from a channel perspective. So I was all over the country seeing partners like Data-Tel. And I'd known Mike Reed just from being in the Chicago market for many years. But I knew he was a stand-up guy. I liked the way that he had built his business, and part of it was building a team around him.
Yeah.
They say that the successful, C-levels, they're not necessarily the smartest in the room. but they have the eye to bring the smartest people around them, right?
Right.
And
Absolutely. Sure.
help lift them up. And so, as I traveled the country for, 10 years or so, I saw all walks of life of partners, just like you guys see on a regular basis. You see 1 and 2 person shops. You see, you know, 50 to 100. You see teams at like CDW and SHI that are doing all this, right? And that's great. It just brings a lot of relevance to what we're doing in this partner channel.
Right.
But the big thing that did it for me was that um, Mike started after college in sales, and he was doing copiers, right? Selling copiers, and then at night he was going door to door selling cable TV.
Wow. Wow. There you go.
So that was when cable TV was just really proliferating, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he worked his butt off to get where he got. But what I take away from his time, doing the copier sales job is back then we weren't doing things on computers. It was you had paper, you sell a deal, you come back to the office, you put it down, and somebody takes it and runs with it from there. You go get another one.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But what's happened over time is that the salesperson has turned into an admin as well as a salesperson.
Right.
So the salesperson at most companies, the companies that I was with, I worked for AT&T, I worked for Paytech, they became Windstream, I worked at XO, became Verizon. All those positions, they are having that salesperson turn in the contract, kind of babysit the order, make sure that project managers are doing what they're supposed to, make sure the customer is doing what they're supposed to. And it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Put on a salesperson.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
going back to the beginning of my story, because of the fact that Mike grew up in that environment where he had people supporting him, that's how he built his business. And at surface level, you think, oh, that's kind of selfish, right? You can do that stuff on your own, but it does take you away from the business. And so the thing is, beyond just, he built a team of operations people that take that contract and run, right? So that he didn't have to. And that's how we are still today. And so we've got an operations team that really is kind of my secret sauce. And really what drove me to become an investing partner here at Data-Tel back in 2020, because I knew that those operations people were really taking care of that customer. So it's not just taking care of the salespeople. It is, it's great for me to have somebody that help me with all this administrative stuff. But beyond that, once that order is in place, whether it is a cybersecurity deal with eSentire, whether it's just a simple internet connection, or if it's a data center project that we're working on, we have an operations person that is a project manager for the entire project that goes on. So as simple or as complex as it is, and what that does is it helps us make sure that the provider that we brought to the table is pulling their weight, and the customer is pulling their weight, because we all know it's not just, it can be on both sides.
Right. 100%.
So our PM sits in the middle of that and really helps make sure that everything is staying on track. But the kicker is, after that, everything's done, right? They're going to get a nice formal email from that project manager saying, hey, this is all, the project is complete. Here's all the information you need to know about it. If you have any questions, you call us. And so our clients call us if they have support issues, if they have billing issues. And so those little things go a long way with the client.
Yeah.
And on the operations team, our least tenured person is 5.5 years. Longest tenured is going on 15 years.
So these operation folks, they seem like they're like customer success managers in a way, kind of thing, right? Taking care of the customers. Yeah, that's important, right? When I pick up the phone, I want to talk to somebody. Hey, I got a problem. Can you help me out? I don't want to go to recording. I don't want to go. I mean, I hate that. To be honest with you, I don't like those automated things, so I think they're a pain in the ass. I'd rather say, hey, guess what? Can I get this person on the phone? And there's somebody there talking to you, and they help you out, and you feel part of that family. I love that.
I think I think that ends up being quite an important bit, John. To me,
Yeah.
it's and Tim, you've mentioned this before, is that customer advocacy
Hmm.
and the fact that those operations guys and girls are really delivering what the customers actually want, which is somebody to talk to your point, John, and also the fact that they're actually getting what they need means that they're coming back to those people to ask them the next question rather than go
Right.
elsewhere. And that's important
That's
because
important.
that stickiness maintains that contact with that customer so that you can continue to be customer advocates in that regard, right?
Yeah.
Right. I love that. I love that. So Tim, you said you started, back in 1999 or something. First of all, is this something you always wanted to do? Were you always looking in, some kind of in sales like this, or did you do something before you started here? Starting to do sales, things like that.
I got into telecom
Mm-hmm.
just out of, I had a brother in it, I had a brother-in-law in it. I was, my first job out of school, I went to school in Champaign, Illinois, the University of Illinois, took a sales job with Gallo, with the winery, uh, in central Illinois. So it's 1994, and I'm going to take a 100% commission sales job in Peoria, Illinois, and Caterpillar's headquartered in Peoria, right?
Right. Right.
And so I take the job, and before I even graduated, I took the job, and then I think it was May or June of that year, Caterpillar went on strike. So people are saying, "Well, Tim, what are you going to do? Caterpillar's going on strike. The economy's going to be really tough in Peoria." And my
Yeah.
manager, he says to me, "Tim, what do people do when they're on strike?" He said, "You're selling jug wine." He said, "You're going to be just fine."
There you go. Right.
So anyway, and so I was there for 2.5 years, and it was a good gig, and they wanted to promote me, and so my girlfriend at the time, I called her and I said, "Hey, they want to promote me, and we could move to Springfield, settle down there." And she said, "Who could move to Springfield?"
Boy, there you go.
my my girlfriend at the time, she was living up in Chicago, and she's in a fun area. Why the heck would I want to do that? So that's when I started talking to my brother about, hey, looks like I got to find my way back up to Chicago, and it's not going to happen with my current company anytime soon. So
Right. Right.
yeah, so that's how I got into the telecom game, and it went from there. But who actually? I mean, I guess there are people that plan out what they plan to do.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No.
Did you have a sense of direction, Tim? Was there something you wanted? Were you trying to achieve something?
I was trying to marry my high school sweetheart, start a family,
There you go.
and be close to my family. It's funny because
A simple wish list, right?
Growing up in Chicago, it's interesting because I worked for a couple startups back in the .com days, and I was working for a company out of San Francisco, and there was a guy that I met. He's like, Tim, he's like, you Midwesterners, you people in Chicago, you just love being there. He said, the thing is, you'll find out that the people in New York wish that they were in LA. The people in LA wish they were in New York, but people in Chicago are happy where they are.
Yeah. You know what? That's so true. It's not even funny. You're right.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of funny. That's true. I hear people like that all the time. Wow, I should move to California. It's nicer weather.
Yeah.
Whatever out there. 100%. I hear that.
Tim, how far have you managed to get down your wish list then?
Yeah. Like, did you marry the sweetheart from high school? Look at you. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Good for you.
So that was 98. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that worked out. We got
So you followed the woman up to Chicago. She said, "Oh, she's going there. I've got to find some." I'm with you, Tim. I know what you're saying, brother.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, we're both from Chicago, so it's
Right. Why not?
It's we don't stray too far. There's not
a heavy lift.
Right.
All of our family's so close. Yeah. Geographically, so that's how it worked out. But it's just about a relationship, right? And we'll talk about that because the relationship. So the job I got with Gallo, it was a fraternity brother who worked for Gallo, who came to Champaign to interview people.
Yeah.
The guy was a real jerk during the interview, messing with me, kind of giving me a hard time about my fraternity. Then after the interview, he tells me, "Oh, I'm Mike," and he gives me the handshake. I'm like, "You son of a..."
Wow.
But anyway, that's how
That's kind of
that
funny,
happened.
actually.
And so then I'm looking to get out of Peoria, get up to Chicago, and it's talking to my brother-in-law who's in the business too, and they took care of, they pointed me in the
That's
right
awesome.
direction to people, and that's where in this channel world too, we have our channel partners, providers, the whole ecosystem is phenomenal for development, for professional development.
Yeah.
And every time that I moved from a company to another, it was because somebody said, "Hey, I think Tim can do that for you," and it was an upward move.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and that's where, once again, Andy, goes back to relationship, and building that, and having a good brand of your own, a good brand for your company. And
Yeah.
that's where Data-Tel will stand out in the Chicago market. Like I said, Mike started in '99, but people know damn well that Mike says he's going to do something, he's going to do it,
Yeah.
and he's going to be straight up and honest all the time. And as you can imagine, those 10 years I spent traveling the country, you see many folks that may not fit that mold as business
A
owners.
lot of times, 100%.
But we'll
Yeah,
say it
across
as
the
nicely
board.
as possible.
Yeah. That's awesome that, I love that Data-Tel is like that. I think that's important because it's the culture. It's you like getting up and going to work. You actually don't, time flies when you're having fun. And that's a true statement. I mean, I love what we do. Like I talk to Andy about this all the time. I've been here now 7 years and God, it flew by, to be honest with
Mm.
you. And it's just have fun. I try not to take things serious like that. I want to have fun. I want people to see what we do at eSentire. We have great stuff that we do. We have great teams, and it's the teams. Listen, we've talked about this before. MDR today, to be honest, is a checkbox. It's a bunch of tools. It depends on what you're doing with those tools and the teams that are helping you with those tools. That's the difference. Anybody can buy a tool.
But it's as you say, John. But it's back, and Tim, you've said this as well. That this is back to the relationships. This is back
Right.
to
Right.
people doing what they say and saying what they do. A degree of integrity, and that builds trust. That those and you've said this as well. Your journey to Data-Tel has been about the strength of your relationships with the people you've worked with. That's drawn you to the next step, to the next step, to the next step, to bring you to Data-Tel. That's brought you to eSentire as well, because we've got a very similar, as John normally says, we've got a very similar mindset. That's how we do that. And your journey, very similar to mine over my working career, back in the old days when we had to use slide rules and move from slide rules to Advocacy and so on. Whoever remembers a slide rule, trust me, none of these electronic calculators.
Yeah.
But it's all about trust and establishing that trust and being that. I think for me, you've mentioned this as well, and it's mentioned more as a corporate thing on your website as well, as that customer advocacy. I think it becomes very important. Customers want partners they can trust, and they truly want to partner with them. And again, you see that you've said that, Tim, in the way that you guys employ. We do the same thing. People stay here because they have a sense of belonging here. And that extends out to our partner network. One of the reasons you're on the podcast, Tim, because we share that common ethos that drives us. And I think that's really important, because things are not going to get easier. They are going to get more complicated. And we can see that happening now.
Yeah.
We can see that in the language that's being used or misused by the vendors, then subsequently by the resellers, and all that adds to is confusion to the end customer. And the end customer has to get a sense of understanding in safe hands of what their next step might be. And that's what we're all here together to help to do. And that becomes a sort of very compelling message. And we're going to talk about things in different ways. We're going to have slightly different perspectives on things. We find that, John, right?
Yep.
I'm on the
Yep.
other side of the pond, and I will look at things differently to you. But we have to have that common view of, well,
Yeah.
you're seeing it from this angle, but I'm seeing it from this angle, and this is where that looks like that's
It's in
progressing
the middle.
to.
It all
Yeah,
meets in
we
the middle.
meet in the middle.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because, Tim, when you started, when you said, 94, you were starting here, you got out of school. When I got out of the service, I went to school for computers and stuff. It was 91. And I started way back in Novell days. And the one thing that I can tell you during my entire career of doing infrastructure and then watching security, when I started, there was no internet yet. There was none of this stuff yet, not like it is today. Um, when you're in front of a customer, I don't care what you're doing. 90% of our job is customers. It's really the 10% of everything else. Like, even though, Andy, we're technical and we're like SAs or SEs, right? So security engineers or security architects, we're still selling, because when we go to a customer's environment, you're like, you know what? I know something that will help you a little bit better. So you're always constantly doing that kind of selling stuff. And it's funny. I did my whole career. I was at an event yesterday and
You're using that bad word, John. We're not selling. We're solving problems and
we're solving
delivering
problems,
outcomes.
right? Yeah, right. We want the good outcomes. I like where your head's at. So, but I had to figure it out. I'm thinking to myself, I'm talking to folks in here and telling them how old I am, thinking, man, I've been doing this for 33 years. God, I feel terrible. But I'm in that room doing almost the same thing that they're doing, right? They are selling, or they are solving customer problems. I've been doing it ever since.
Customers are buying. We're not
Right.
selling. Customers are buying.
Customers are buying.
And again, to me, this is where people with like minds start to draw together. Tim, you're saying that Data-Tel as a whole is driving by that. The fact that we've come together as part of our extended family is because we have that common theme driving through. I think that becomes really important. And it's we're here to solve problems. We both want customers for life.
Well, and I think being in on the partner side of things, and people call us in this ethos trusted advisors. A whole other subject there, because I think you're not a trusted advisor until you earn the trust. So you can't just
Right.
You're a trusted advisor. But that's
right.
Right.
100%.
What I really like about what you said is that being on this side of the table and being with on the partner side at Data-Tel, not being with just one company, one provider, I truly feel like my clients don't feel like I'm selling to them. They do feel like I'm listening and helping them solve problems. That's perfect language, Andy. And that's the difference when I spent 10 years when it was Ameritech, SBC, then AT&T, right? I was selling.
Yeah.
Because why would you look at any other provider? We could do everything for you. Don't look at anybody else. Please don't. And now I talk to prospects and clients and say, I'm going to bring you options to look at. And we're straight up about this. I mean, eSentire, you guys know damn well that 90% of the time there's going to be other providers that I would bring to a client.
Sure.
100%.
But difference here is, I'm going to say, Andy, I'm going to say selling.
Okay.
Because in this instance, when you get to that point with the client, you do have to sell. You do have to tell a better story than the other person. And I see it all the time.
100%.
And I get emails from providers who haven't won business, and they say, well, hey, what happened? Sometimes I have to go to ChatGPT and ask to say politely that your sales pitch sucked.
Right.
And you didn't know what you were talking about compared to the guy that they talked to 2 days before.
It's stories, the stories. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where like you guys are saying, eSentire has made a difference in the way that you position you're doing in the marketplace, and the way that you just explain to the clients, because believe it or not, some providers, their sales folks and their solutions architects, sometimes they take a position of, the way that I hear it is, you must think the client knows a lot more than they really do about what you're doing, because you aren't, you know,
You're not talking their
making
language.
me feel comfortable.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so there's a big difference when we get down to that goal line, about having people that can talk to the client, but then also at both levels of having good business acumen, but then also having the technical knowledge to not have to say,
Yeah.
well, let me take a note and I'll get back to you.
Right. No, I agree. Listen, I think there's two things, and Andy and I have talked about this before. One, people buy from people they like, period.
Mm.
The other thing I think is you have to truly believe in what you're talking about. Right. And I got to tell you, that's the one thing for me. It's easy because I truly believe in what we do at eSentire. I believe in the teams. I believe in the platform that we've built. I believe in the technology we support. And so it's easy to say, look, I'm telling you, this is the things I've seen, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, whatever. But I believe, and they can see it, they can feel that. Right. Because if you're trying to talk to somebody about something you don't really care about or you don't believe, they're going to know. They're going to feel it. And it's that feeling. You're like, you know what? Just like Andy talks about this all the time about AI. And I was going to ask you a little bit of stuff about AI. I think, has come a long way. There's got a lot to do. But at the end of the day, and this is why we still use SOC analysts, even in our platform, all the amazing stuff we're doing with AI. AI is not going to get that gut feeling that says, I think I still need to review this because, right?
Yeah.
AI is going to say, here's all the things I know. And I think about it where I scour the internet for it. Here's all my answers. I'm going to pick this because I know this is right. How do you know that? How do
Yeah.
you
Where's
don't
the
have that gut
evidence?
feeling? Exactly. Right. I think that's important. So I think it's people, buy from people they like. And it's, you got to believe it. You have to feel that when you're talking to a partner or talking to a customer.
I know I'll push that a little bit further, John. I think the customer needs to feel it's right as well. And we
Right.
talk about, the SOC
Mhm.
analyst doing his job right or doing their job right. They do it right. They know, they have a gut feeling that's where the needle is in that haystack. I know exactly where that is. Fine. Great. Customers going, I don't quite believe you. Okay, fine. Here's the proof. Here's
Right.
the evidence. And by the way, just in case I was wrong, I've tested these other streams as well. So that's the route to that destination. I've tested all of them. And the second pair of eyes and the third pair of eyes that are looking at those data flows, they come to the same conclusion. And I was right in the first place. But so you have the assurance, dear customer, here's the evidence. And I think that's where that changes. And obviously, to your point, Tim, earlier, customers have to feel it's right. Yes, 100%. You have to help them navigate that minefield of a conversation because everyone's using the same terms and meaning different things. Another one of my bugbears. But the fact is, from our point of view, we want to give you the right tools for the right customer. And if you navigate that together with us, right, we'll fit that customer for a lot longer than perhaps some of the other vendors might. And again, customer can change their mind. It's their prerogative. But, we need to have that good fit because for the both of us, we both want that customer to be quite sticky.
Yeah. 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 I agree. So I was going to ask you, Tim, what do you think about AI? How do you see AI impacting your organization today? And do you guys use it?
From us
Mm.
directly, we're using it in very limited capacity at this point in time.
Right. Okay.
Um, there's definitely some applications for us to use it more. But I think where I see it really taking impact is it's really on the companies that didn't dive in early.
Mm.
And there's statistics out there. I was talking to a client a few weeks ago, and shared with him. He's an IT leader within an organization, and he's definitely dip the toe. Do never jump into anything.
Yeah.
Not with AI, you name it. That's just his philosophy.
Right.
And so I had showed him a stat that MIT had done a study that 95% of AI initiatives that companies dove into had not shown ROI.
Hmm.
And many of them have failed. The reason being they were point solutions going after one result,
Mm-hmm.
and they weren't taking into consideration the entire organization.
Right.
And so if you don't have governance around implementation of AI, you're going to have some real problems because you're going to have sales doing this and marketing doing that and finance doing this and IT doing that.
Yeah.
And then IT's going to find out about all the shit and they're going to be like, oh my God,
Yep.
this is
Yep.
not good.
No, 100%. You got to have those policies and procedures in place. People have to know what they're doing. 100%. I agree. And I think it's like the Wild West where you don't know what some people are doing with certain things, forms of AI or how, and AI has changed. I mean, we see it in the things that we've done within our platform. When AI was first big and it's doing all these things, and then it's changed from all these different aspects and different areas and things we're doing now with it.
Right.
It is making the SOX job a little bit easier. It takes a lot of data and correlates it faster for them to review.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they would manually go through that process of looking all those things, right? Shrinking that time down makes it a little bit faster for them. And it's come a long way, and we still got a lot. I mean, it's just the beginning. I mean, who knows where it's going to be next year or the year after, right? But I think it's important, like you're saying, to put some of those procedures in place so people know, hey, this is, don't just jump in head first, right? Take your time because it's going to change tomorrow, right? So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket.
Well,
like
I mean,
that.
this is a general advice. This is a very rapidly changing technology scene.
100%.
It's a new way of aggregating analysis and the various taxonomies and making sense out of the various taxonomies that the various vendors and proponents are putting forward. And I think that's where there is a benefit in dipping your toes in the water in that testing. Now, yes, I am very anti AI. AI, the name itself, there is no intelligence to it.
Here we go. Now you got him started. He's
Yet.
just go on.
But that being said, all it is, I mean, we described this the other day and we've been having some conversations. John and myself have been having some conversations with some of the eSentire Labs people on our side who are actually digging into this on a deeper level. And we're looking at this from a development point of view and from an engineering point of view. We've been doing machine learning forever.
Yeah.
AI is, this week, was what we're calling machine learning. It hasn't changed. There is no intelligence there. However, that will be the next logical step, that it will be able to decide that that's the direction of travel for the following reasons. That's my gut feeling on the direction of travel for this particular investigation. That's where that happens. And this is where you have to be careful. The building of those models, the curating of your data sets to make sure that the model curation and the data set curation meshes correctly so that those gears actually mesh together properly so that you do get to the outcome you want to. But we still have this issue of hallucination. We still have this issue of bias in the systems. I've been working on this week a very simple question: latent semantic indexing.
That's not a simple question. Tell me what that means.
It is a simple question. It is a simple question. What is the common taxonomy that the LLMs use, that Google recognizes, that YouTube pulls out, that LinkedIn pulls out to index and score the material, the content that's surfaced in those platforms? The term is latent semantic indexing, specific terms. So the scoring that the use of a word will get in that stack will lift it up the listing. So if you want to play with these toys, you have to use the terms that they're currently recognizing to make sure this is search engine optimization in the old school that we were doing 5, 10, 15 years ago. But now we're talking about LLMs. the challenge is, again, we're still back to that same old challenge. We start building these taxonomies, and it's
He's got a
buried
book.
under a pile of books here.
He's got a book.
CISSP has a book that's literally 3 inches thick of the terms, the taxonomy that you're allowed to use in the CISSP exam. It's about 1,100 pages. Well,
Yep.
good luck learning that, because
Yep.
you've got to learn the course material, but then you have to restrict yourself to the taxonomy. Because if you don't use the right words to explain what they want to see, you're going to answer the question wrong.
Right. You're going to fail the test. 100%.
LM's no different.
Yep.
Google's no different. YouTube's no different. LinkedIn's no different. And these are the tools that we're using to promote the services. All of us are using to. Fine. How do we use it? How should we use it? What terms are upcoming in the next 12 to 18 months? 57 pages, 8,700 words, 3 different LLMs, 3 completely different sets of answers.
See, right there.
Who's right and who's wrong?
That's like what you said, how we, within our platform at eSentire, we're doing and taking care of our own AI and training that material. When you go on ChatGPT or these other things that LinkedIn and some of those other public forums are using, they are using that internet data. Who knows if it's good or not? So that's why there's 50 different answers, right? How do you know what you're getting is actually what you need? And Angie, you've said this before. You're saying every time you search something, say for example in ChatGPT, it starts to understand or think about what I am always going to ask it. So it's always going to give me the answers I'm looking for. It doesn't say here's something else you should consider. So it's starting to kind of, I don't want to say learn, because it's not. Don't want to say there's intelligence there, but it remembers what I've. See, again, I'm using.
But again, it's this LI term and scoring. it's using your language back to
my
you.
language back to me, right? And that's
now.
Yeah, right. So when people say, "Oh, we've got AI, we throw it on our platform, we're doing this," you got to be careful with that. You got to be careful.
But this is, again, we've got to get our toes wet, right? We do have to start playing with it, and there's a time and place for it. So for me, then the challenge becomes: are you using your own models? Are you using your own data sets?
Right.
And how now are you curating both those stacks of information? Because that will impact the result you're going to get. And for all of us and the world at large, that is the major challenge. But data now is the currency, and accuracy of that data is now currency. So
I got to tell you,
it's an interesting question, right?
I am glad I started in this field when I did, because I got to tell you, if I was coming into this field now with all this AI and all this stuff, I'd be like, man, it is crazy, all the stuff that goes on today. Because when we started in this business, eventually it was just network and then antivirus, and that was it. Honestly, there was no craziness like you deal with now. The threats weren't here like they are today. It's nuts today. It's not an easy field to jump into, right? There's a lot of different things you can do.
And with AI being so easily accessible, question is, okay, well, what's in the future for the trusted advisor community?
Yeah, right.
Can a prospect just go into Copilot and say, hey, I would like to compare 3 MDR providers, and I want to make sure they have XYZ in place? Absolutely. They can go in and they can search that.
Now, what do you think it's going to do to search that information? It's going to look at this. It's going to look at LinkedIn. It's going to look at Glassdoor. It's going to go these things. So if you have bad data in there, that's what's going to come back to you, right? How old is that data? How good is that data? Right.
That's exactly what I was getting at, what Andy was talking about, where all these different sources are being pulled from. And then let's go back toward the beginning of our conversation where we talk about relationship and trust, right?
Yes.
So it's I think that people still, just like eSentire, right? eSentire, yeah, you guys are taking advantage of everything you can in the AI space, but you still, and John, you said we still have people.
Right.
Yeah.
And to double check, to question. And that's where I think, the trusted advisor is still going to play a role. And we see that role increasing across enterprise every year. because buyers and customers are more skeptical about believing who to believe. So
You're
that's
right.
that's what I'm banking on going forward, right?
Yeah.
Well, I look, Tim, and that's I guess that's the key there. Perhaps trusted advisor is a little bit strong because, as you say, you're absolutely right. You do have to build that trust, and more importantly, maintain it.
Right.
Yeah, your customers can go off and they can use those LLMs and they can come up with a short list. Great, you have a short list. Now they're going to come to you, Tim, and they're going to go, "I've got this short list. Where do I go next?" Well, we steered you in the right direction before.
Yep.
This is what we feel. This is our value statements on each of those choices. We think this is the best option for you.
For you, right.
For the following reasons.
Yep.
Because obviously, it's part of that sort of the next person is going to save us all. And AI is the next person, allegedly. But, prompt injection is a real thing, specifically in LLM queries. And if that has tailored the results or the data sets that you're going to look at without your knowing, you will get a skewed result. Anyway.
Yeah.
Don't let me get me
let him
off
go
that.
off. He's writing a book right now.
Soapbox.
Yes. Woo. And by the way,
but this is the thing. This is the problem when they speak to people.
Right. All right.
How do I know you're telling me the truth?
Right. So
how do I understand that? Well, you get a gut feeling, first of all. Where does that gut feeling come from? Well, I'm going to reference another book here. Chase Hughes and the 6-minute X-ray. Strongly recommend it for anyone who's remotely associated with sales. There are tells. There are tells in human beings because we were all mammals. And I need to know who I can trust, but more importantly, who I can't trust. And this is where face-to-face comes in. Human beings want to deal with other people. They buy from people they like because they know they can start to build trust with them.
Right. I was going to say that.
And that isn't going to change anytime soon.
No. AI can't replace that. You got people, yes, 100% that you
100 years in the future won't be able to replace that because it's still us, the humans, who need to build that relationship. So fine. AI isn't going to go away. Well, we have to use it appropriately. And if it's going to make your job easier by removing the mundane stuff, you can focus on we can focus on the interaction stuff. Part of the reason, we've shared this before, John, and I very strongly an advocate of it, is I'm in this industry because I want to deal with people I've never spoken to before.
Right.
I look for the challenge of trying to explain a concept and sell somebody an idea or a concept, ideally where English isn't their first language, because that makes it doubly difficult.
He likes the challenge.
I like that. To me, it's part of the fun of getting somebody engaged in something when there are challenges as part of that puzzle. For me, I find that entertaining. So I don't need to lean into other things for that. But for you, Tim, I'm a little bit of a nutcase, and I'll quite happily admit that.
No, stop. What are you talking about?
Tim, what do you do to keep you focused on this? What do you do to recharge your batteries to allow you to keep driving Data-Tel's customer base and making the world a better place for them?
So I think your end comment there, making the world a better place. We can't solve world hunger and end the wars and create peace all over the place. But I think that goes back to my upbringing. Many people thought that me or my brother would follow in my dad's footsteps, and that is not being in telecom sales, but being a Lutheran minister.
Okay. There you go. Wow,
nice. Interesting.
So there's pressures externally as a kid growing up as a preacher's kid that you're going to go into the same path as your dad did. But neither of us chose that path, but both of us have stayed very much involved in the churches that we're a part of. And if you could see a plaque on my wall, there's a there's a recognition from our church camp where I serve on the board there. But the recognition was for when my dad passed away, the a good sum of money that we gave to the camp.
Mhm.
But I talk about the camp and I talk about church, and that's where my batteries get recharged.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's awesome. Good for
and
you.
it's kind of corny, but it goes back in 2020. January 2020, I come to Data-Tel and I'm going to hit the ground running. I'm going to go out and meet our clients, meet in person. Then
Yeah.
comes March 13th and everything's shut
Yep.
down, and that's not an option. Um, but one of the first sales that I had here was it was a unified communication sale to a client. And I shouldn't say sale, like Andy said. One of the first problems I helped solve for a client was there's a village, southwest suburb of Chicago here, that it's a very blue collar village. One thing that they provide all seniors in their community is free healthcare.
Mm.
So you drive through this town and the lawns are manicured perfectly. The homes are extremely modest, but these people are there and they have a sense of community and a sense of pride in their community, and their community takes care of them. And so going into COVID, these seniors that are getting this free healthcare were in a real predicament because they're used to just going into the clinic, going into an office and seeing a doctor, seeing a nurse, seeing, a PA. But they couldn't do that all of a sudden. And so the village had uh, uh, a video platform that was it was set up through their mobile provider, their cell phone provider. A lot of the seniors are having a hard time figuring it out. So we brought a couple of different, at that time, when COVID hit, the UC providers were really they were throwing out their collaboration tools for free.
Yeah.
They were trying to, because Zoom was all over the place.
Yep.
So all these
Yep.
other providers like, well, wait, we have that same kind of stuff. One of the providers I brought to them, and they tried it out. They thought it was easy. Next thing you know, the seniors thought it was easy.
Mm.
All of a sudden, these seniors are really starting to, they're able to talk to doctors. They're able to have, virtual visits during COVID. And then, one thing leads to another, and the whole community now, all the municipality as a whole now is on that platform, right? All the
Mm.
offices, all the administrators, all that. But that's the kind of thing that I still think back to that in 2020, Andy, because that is just a little way that I felt like, we help some people.
Yeah.
And it's not always
Helping
to be a situation where we're helping the elderly like we did in this situation, but I do feel like that kind of gets me charged up, where I feel like I am helping solve problems and helping people. And so going back to the recharging the batteries, it's kind of like, my DNA to an extent.
No, that's awesome. That's really cool.
I like that. I like. All right, so I'm going to ask a difficult question then.
Boy, here we go.
No. You've touched on a couple of things. Then I think one of the things that the minute you said it, and it caught my attention, that establishing that sense of community, that coming together and building that sense of community. Does trust happen first or community happen first? And does one correlate with the other?
So like the chicken and the egg concept.
Almost,
That's a little
but
confusing, Andy.
I think, I'm going to posit that the community has to come first, and the establishment of that community and the deliverance of that community sense of contributing to your neighbors, your immediate neighbors,
Yeah.
and that extending out, that builds trust.
Mhm.
And John, this is what we do. This is what we do internally. And if I would call something out, I wouldn't, this is the one thing I probably wouldn't challenge here at eSentire, is our interview process.
Mm.
Because it delivers, as we've found with the guests on the podcast, it delivers people, certainly internally, that are now in their right job for them.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm not going to question that at all, because it's put those people in the right place. It's put those people in the right place that they can contribute to and build that community,
Mm-hmm.
which we choose to extend out to our partner network.
Yep. Yep.
And that's where we draw, whether we target them to bring them in, or we are just attracted to them because they have a similar story.
Yeah.
Whether
No, I
that's,
like that.
Tim,
You're
as
right.
you say, you do in your own time for your own community, it's part of your core being,
Well, and
and it just reflects in your role.
two examples of that community ultimately building trust. One, you talked about eSentire bringing their culture to the partner community, but the partner community itself is is community.
Mhm.
That's I tell people we have a lot of co-optation going on, a lot of cooperation and competition. Because I talk to my what are my competitors regularly. Mike, our founder, he's got a circle of friends that are all competitors.
Yep.
But
Yep.
we're all friends. And so, and the other thing about this partner community is that it does build trust because everyone physically is together at events. And yeah, sometimes they're boondoggles that are just a lot of fun to hang out. Beyond that, you get to know people in person. And that's a big thing when we're talking about becoming that trusted advisor or a trusted partner, like a provider like eSentire, is you've got to meet people. You got to know people.
Yeah.
Um, and so that is definitely an example of community building trust. And it was funny because I've consulted with a couple of folks that are in the TSD world, the technology solutions distributors,
Yep.
we work
Yep.
with on pretty much every one of my positions I had in the channel. I talked to a couple of folks and said, "Hey, I hear so and so's looking," or sometimes they came to me and said, "Hey, Tim, so and so's looking for somebody just like you."
Yeah.
Um, and I consulted with those folks wherever I was looking to make a decision, except when I came to Data-Tel because I knew the path it was going. Mike and I talked about it for years, but finally worked out. But it was that trust that was built with those folks, and that trust was built because of events that I met them at, meetings that I had, things like that really helped. But
Yeah.
the other example I'm gonna give you, and I'm stepping way out of technology and everything. I'm going back to I'm a bit of a church geek, right? But
Right.
our senior pastor is just amazing. Um, the Lutheran Church, just like the Catholic Church in America, has seen a decline in attendance. Unfortunately, churches are closing, they're selling. You go through Wrigleyville in Chicago and you see these old churches that are now condos, and they're
Yeah.
doing great
It's
things
sad.
for improving the structure.
Yeah.
But recognizing that our church, which is right by Wrigley Field, there's like four other Lutheran churches right around us, and he said probably like 6, 7 years ago, he's like, "There's no way every one of these churches is going to make it, and there's going to be a point where we have to merge.
Mhm.
So we need to start building trust amongst people within these different congregations, so that when that day does come, there's not the the tension that is felt,
Mm.
and it's being felt significantly in the Catholic Church when the bishop says, "Hey, you know what? You two parishes have to merge. No
Yeah.
questions asked." And all of a sudden, these people like, "Wait, no, we don't do it that way." So anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. There's issues. Yeah.
to look ahead to say, "Hey, before we just say you're going to get together and become one, if you can build community and start doing things together," and that's what we've been doing with these other parishes. We've formed an organization where we do events together, so people get to know each other. You feel comfortable, right? Um, but it's so important to have that community that ultimately builds that trust.
I love that. I
Yeah.
agree. I think
Yeah,
I
exactly that.
wish and I'm not. I mean, I'm Catholic and I do go to church once a week, but I got to tell you, it would be nice to do that. To be honest with you, have that community kind of feeling. I mean, you have that feeling. I guess you do have that feeling in the church, but I don't know if I've ever heard of, maybe I don't know, but different Catholic churches coming together and doing something. I don't know if they do that, but I think that's a great idea, right? Bringing that community together.
Unfortunately, my experience is they haven't enough, and I can speak with a relative bit of knowledge because I always tell folks I grew up a bit of a minority growing up on the southwest side of Chicago in a Lutheran church where 95% of the community is Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of there's a lot of
Little
tension
there. Yeah.
What's your in Chicago, and maybe the same in New York and Boston, you identify by your parish.
Yeah.
What parish are you part of? Oh, you're that? Yeah.
You're right. It's, I never even thought of that.
I'm
You're
not.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing now, because some of the churches are seeing what's happening in other places. They're like, oh shoot, we better start, doing some things together with these people, and they have started to do that. So
Yeah.
it's hopefully it'll be a good thing.
If you'll pardon the expression, Tim, God forbid we should focus on what our similarities are rather than our differences.
And what our differences are. And I was just going to ask you, what are you, if you don't mind me asking? Are you Catholic?
I was brought up Roman Catholic. My dad was training to become a priest, actually, when he started studying, and then ended up doing Spanish history and stuff, and then teaching Spanish over here in the UK, and then that was the end of that.
I think we should go on tour and see if we can bring different things together. So then they can make jokes about us. There's two Catholics and a Lutheran going to a bar. You know what I mean? I think we can do that. And we can bring we can do that partner community kind of thing. It'd be kind of cool, actually, to be honest.
I think that, look, the community thing is very, very important. And the fact is, the industry is a very tight community, and faith is one of those things that brings people together.
Yep. Well, and like Bob Lieblang, I've known him since my SBC days. So when I saw Bob's name, I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna definitely talk with Bob. Yeah. Obviously, eSentire has the recognition, the Gartner accolades, all that kind of fun stuff. But if it didn't, and Bob were there, I'd still talk to Bob.
Right.
I'd still hear him out. Right.
Right.
Because of the person that he is, and that's where that community is important, because we all know there's people that like, I don't really care to talk to that person tonight at this event.
Right. Oh,
therefore, you associate that person with where they're working.
Yeah, you're right.
I think that's absolutely that, and that's absolutely true, and it's absolutely fine. And to me, this was one of the things that has driven myself and John to sort of put this podcast together. Is, for whatever reason, people still want to connect with people they like, and trust comes out of that. Buying and selling comes out of that. Community comes out of that eventually. I started very early on in the industry, much like John. I'm not going to count back that far anymore. I did that when I joined here, and it's been 4 years since. I'm approaching 40 years in the industry. It's scary. My start was in thin client and abstracted services, the start of cloud, the start of ASP, application service provision, remote desktops, all of that stuff, that whole space. But that tight community, there was literally 20 to 40 people globally who had a grasp on what that was. In the late 80s, early 90s, Microsoft started to bring in NT3, 5, 351, then 4. Citrix had a go at 4 before Microsoft did. Then it started to get very interesting. WinFrame, WinView, WinFile, blah, 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 MetaFrame, et cetera, and that tight community is still there because we helped each other get through, and we were more generous with our time. It's something that does happen in aspects now, but a lot of people tend to hold on to the knowledge. They still think knowledge is power, so they hold on to it. Again, that ability to be generous with your time, generous with your knowledge, generous with your capabilities, to make sure that you lift the community with you. When you learn something, you share it with as many people as will listen. That came from that sense of community. And I think that becomes an important part of it. John, our TRU publishes 12 feeds of the 42 it consumes to contribute to the community so that cybersecurity improves globally.
So real quick, Tim, what he's talking about is our threat response unit team. They have their own threat and tell feeds. They curate and they find all new indicators of compromise, all indicators of attack, things like that. And we have now taken that where we were using it just for us, for our platform. We've taken that now and said, here, you know what? Let's give it to the partners. Let's give it to the customers. Let's share it out. So people can. And I love the idea. I mean, because I've seen a lot of companies. So, for example, that helps with the networking component, right? If I could take my threat intel and incorporate it into your firewall, for example, everything that I block and I know is bad, I'm going to let you know it's going to go right into your firewall. You don't need anything else, right? You don't have to buy our network component or a network sensor. This is part of it, right? Where I think a lot of other folks out there, you need their thing and it doesn't work any other way, right? We want to give more back. And I love that we do that at eSentire. We want to give as much as possible to our partners to enable their customers to have those outcomes that they're looking for. So on Christmas, they're not worrying about somebody breaking in their environment. You know, on Thanksgiving, they can enjoy Thanksgiving dinner because they have a team of folks that are working and they love to do it. They love to do it.
Somebody's watching the screens.
Somebody's watching them. Somebody's watching their back. And I think that's important. I think that's, you know, I think that's one of those foundational components, whether it's the things we do or how we do things at eSentire, it's that community of people that, you know, that want to make it better. We've talked to folks that say, you know, I've got this idea. And this is the one thing I remember the first person we interviewed at eSentire, he's like, we're building this lab so you can come with an idea and bring it to us. No idea is stupid, whether it's a good idea or it's, you know, there's really no bad. I guess there can be a bad idea, but whether it works or not, bring it to the table. What do you got to lose? I don't know of any other organization that says, you know, anybody like Andy and I can bring stuff there. Someone who's non-technical can bring an idea, say, hey, I'd like to see this. Great. That's a great idea. Maybe we'll explore that. And I think for them to give us that ability is awesome.
That's that sense of community. That's
the community.
encouraging that sense of community. That's maintaining that community, isn't it?
Yeah. So let me ask you one question, Tim. If you had a time machine, right, and you were able to go back, whatever, 15, 20 years, would you, well, I got two questions now. What would your older self tell your younger self? And would you take the same path? You know, would you maybe say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'd rather do that, become a minister. Because I got to tell you, it'd probably been a lot easier job than dealing with people all the time. It's not always easy, right?
Being a minister is dealing with a lot of people.
I got to tell you, well, you're right. But, you know, it's a different, well, maybe you're right. Maybe that's not probably a good question. Because you're right, you just still dealing with people.
Would you choose that path or not?
Yeah, would you choose that path instead?
There was times when I did think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the 15, 20 years ago, what I would have told my younger self was to not sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
Because I would get too hung up on taking care of every little thing that every single person asked of me.
Yep.
And there was just, you know, a lot of times working into the wee hours that I didn't really need to be doing that.
Yeah.
You know, it just live and learn. And I would also say to use that rule of counting to 10.
Yeah.
You know, before reacting.
I still try that now, Tim. I'm not going to lie. And it's not working for me.
Yeah.
I try it all the time, especially driving in New Jersey. 1, 2, 3. I can't. I'm going to lose my shit. I can't.
Never get to 10.
Yeah.
My wife will tell you.
I think that those are like the biggest things as you know, get a little bit older, you realize that, not everything is a fire alarm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and just I'm very, very conscious of blocking time and taking time off, uh,
Yeah. That's good.
doing things with the family. So
Well, that's
that's
what you're
important.
working for, right? You're working for the family. At the end of the day, what does it all matter? Nothing really matters except, family like that. The people that you love. That's what you get up every day to go to work for. I mean, even us, right? We love what we do. We like talking to people. We love doing all the different things. But at the end of the day, all of us, we do it not because, oh, we have to do it, because we do it. You know what? I love my family. I want to take care of them. I want to do the best for them. And, I get it. And you do that stuff, but you have to take the time for yourself, because at the end of the day, nothing really matters. You don't take any of this stuff with you. When it's your time to go and you have no idea when that day is going to happen, you're like, you know what? Shit. You can't just say, shit, I should have did that yesterday. It's
Yeah,
too late. You know what I mean? So
Was
just
that it's that small stuff where
the small
for
stuff.
me,
Right.
the question is, would I worry about this in 3 years' time?
Oh, that's a good one. You're right.
Would I really be still worried about this in 3 years' time? Because if I am, and I will, then I need to do something about it. But if I'm
Right.
not,
Right.
really, does it really matter
Really
that
matter?
much? I mean, Tim, I commend you for managing, because we all share common traits. The three of us here share those common traits. We care too much.
Mm.
And I think that's why we do sweat the small stuff, even though we tell ourselves not to.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the biggest challenge, is to try and balance that somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we all end up working 18-hour days. We're all guilty of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not easy, but you're right. Sometimes you care a little too much. You're like, God, I really want this to be, but you're right. You try to step back, because what does it all matter? What is it all for? Right. I agree. I love that. So I got one more question for you, Tim. Would it be possible for you to come back on in whatever 6-9 months from now and say, hey, here's all the cool stuff we're doing, here's what Data-Tel is happening, what's happening in your personal life, doing things like that. I would love to have you back on and give us an update of what's going on, how you're doing, what's new with you. I think it'd be great. Well, it'd be a lot of fun, because this is, like I said, you're the first partner to join our little podcast show, and it's been amazing. And we love having you on, and I would love to have you back on all the time, like as a regular guest coming on. It would be great to have you, and maybe even co-host. You never know. All three of us could do a little show. Bring some of your customers on or something. Maybe something like that. That would be great.
For
Right?
sure.
Thinking
Yeah,
out of the box. I
That
love
would
that.
be
I think it'd be a lot of
interesting. That
fun.
would be very interesting.
Yeah. So, would you be willing to do that, Tim?
yeah. I think that you got a unique idea there about a client potentially.
Yeah. Why not? Bring them on. Say, hey, tell us some of your problems. We'll see if we can help you.
Well, this is the community.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Because
This is the community, right?
It extends out to the customers. It's not just partners. It's a whole community of folks that are living in this world, this little blue planet together. We all want to make it a great place and a great thing. So I think I love that idea. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But
You just reminded me. There's somebody I got to reach out to along those
see,
lines. So, yeah.
see, Tim always helping out. But yeah, thank you. I just want to say thanks, Tim, for taking the time. I know you're busy. I know you got a lot of things going on, but taking the time, hanging out with us to chat with us and explore this. And we'd love to have you back on. And I think we can do a lot more fun stuff with you. But I do appreciate it. We really do love the partnership with Data-Tel, because it's an amazing partnership, and we love having you on. And I've learned a lot about you, and it's a lot of fun.
No, and in truth, Tim, we've talked about this predominantly initially started out as interviewing and having conversations with internal staff. We tabled the idea a couple of weeks ago to extend that out to external parties. Who would we invite on? Who's part of our community that we would invite? And you were the first name that came to John's lips. He said, "No, we've got to try and start with Tim, because I think it'll be a good conversation."
That's
and
awesome.
it absolutely has been. So there are a couple of people from my career historically that I'd like to come on, and we've got one of those. We're coming on next Thursday. We're pushing for a few others. But I think this common story doesn't change. I think, this is about human beings, about people. This is about community. This is about people trusting each other to do the right thing. And whatever form that takes. And then we extend that out into conducting business in that way, because our audience have to trust us and have to continue to trust us.
Right. I agree. But yeah, that'd be great. So you'd be willing to come back on, it'd be awesome. And I think we can do a lot of fun stuff. So we're going to brainstorm a little bit and we'll reach out to you, Tim, and say, hey, let's do this. What do you think? We'll see. We'll schedule some. We'll get some on the books. We'll have some fun.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm up.
Awesome. Well, Tim, thank you again so much for doing this, my friend. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time and not being scared and saying, no, I don't want to go with these guys. They're crazy. But thank you for doing this.
Well, now Tim knows that we are complete and utter nutcases.
Yeah,
he knows that absolutely now, rather than just guessing it.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's fine. I've never been accused of being short on words either. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, my friend. It's been amazing, Tim. Thank you again for taking the time.
Yeah.
And thank you, Data-Tel.
Thanks a lot.
Let's wrap this then. So this has been another episode of the Cyberculture Cafe series, part of the Cyber Talks podcast, presented by eSentire, the authority in managed detection and response. To learn how eSentire's next level NDR service can help you strengthen your security program and build cyber resilience, please visit eSentire.com. Don't forget to speak to Tim at Data-Tel as well if you're in the area. Thank you very much, Tim, for taking the time today to talk to us, and we look forward to the next episode and having you back on in the fullness of time to listen to your latest news.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tim.